Hello, guys. Welcome to Minus the Rumors. It is Saturday, October the 3rd. We have a fantastic show for you tonight, and we're going to start with one of our favorite games, GTA.
Yes, GTA 5, GTA Online. A recent exploit has been discovered that possibly allows banned GTA Online accounts to get back online as well as add mods into GTA Online, which is something Rockstar said would never happen. Um, Apparently, there's a line of code that someone discovered, and basically once he decrypted it and looked at what it does, it allows you to bypass bans on usernames, your UUID. It allows for the ignorance of cheater pool status and mic muting, so you can get on and verbally troll. Ignores bad sport status. It also allows you to bring in mods such as customized characters and the terrible God mode. Rockstar hasn't released a patch yet for it. I have some sources that say that they are working on a patch. And even if they do, modders could go back to a previous version of said game, the previous version with the old code in it, and still play with other people exploiting the game. What do you guys think on that?
In any online game, it's bound to happen. It's already happened to GTA on console.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I don't. Maybe this is my age speaking, but I don't like to get into these chaotic lobbies that are full of people throwing, like shooting cash guns at me and stuff. I just want to play the game, man.
I
Just
take
let me
it.
play the game.
I take it you never played Grand Theft Auto 4 online.
No.
Yeah, it was real quick to get all sorts of hacked up and modded up, and now it's basically everybody's invincible with all the money in the game, firing rocket launchers at each other all day.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I stayed away from GTA Online for as long as I possibly could.
Mm-hmm.
You remember? I mean, you guys had to basically force me into it.
Mm-hmm.
Now I play it all the time.
I,
This is
I
why I stayed away for as long as I could.
also feel like this is bound to happen in a game that is played this much by so many people, and everyone obviously wants to get advantage on everyone. It was bound to happen. It happened. Now Rockstar has to fix it.
Hmm.
So it's not too surprising, but
I
it
think. Sorry.
it could possibly have long term bad effects for them.
Right. Now,
I
go ahead, Lynn.
I I think. I hope that Rockstar's response would be pretty quick. They've kind of handled most everything pretty quick in Five Online, so maybe we won't actually see this become too much of an issue.
Yeah, I would hope they would handle it quickly too. I mean, Rockstar openly backs modding your single player game to keep it interesting because of the lack of DLC for Grand
Right.
Theft Auto 5. But, you know, I have I played a lot of Grand Theft Auto Online on last gen on my 360. And I know Dano probably played quite a bit on his PS3. He's having microphone issues again this week. Um, but when you were online with it, people that hacked and glitched and stuff like that kind of delayed Grand Theft Auto Online. Like, what was it? The game came out in September or October of 2013 and was supposed to have heists available in December of 2013. And we all know when Heist went live, actually. because it was out for PC when they did come out.
Hmm.
So, I mean, it could be a bad day. It could delay any kind of further down the road progress if Rockstar's got to go back and rewrite their code again.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see. Is that all the comments on the GTA?
Yeah, that's all I've got, honestly.
Dano, we just don't know because, you know,
We just don't know about
we just don't know.
Dano.
I'm sure he had plenty to say because he's played GTA
Right.
on 3 game systems and PC.
Right.
So,
GTA is Bay.
Well, anyways, on to our next story, Assassin's Creed. So Assassin's Creed Syndicate is going to have, you may love it, you may hate it, but it's going to have microtransactions.
whoa.
Woo. But they say it's not pay to win. They say. So apparently, it's going to be used for accelerating the game, getting more of items, whatnot, saves time. It's not going to put content behind a paid wall. It's not going to be a pay to win. We'll see because it's Ubisoft and I don't trust them. But they did something similar to Black Flag. And I believe this game is going to have the same model as Black Flag as well. The last microtransaction started at about $2, but the Syndicate game actually comes out October 23rd for the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, and then the PC will come in sometime in November, about mid. So what do you guys think about Assassin's Creed getting microtransactions?
I kind of expected it because Ubisoft is kind of greedy, in my opinion. I played, what was it, Revelation, and I think it might have even had microtransactions. Either that or it was something to involve Uplay credits.
Yeah.
And I didn't care for that either because it's like, oh, if you want these flags for your base, you need to, get these Uplay credits, and you can either do repetitive crap in the game or buy them.
Yeah.
And I played Black Flag right up until it got to the point where I was like, I'm tired of just being a pirate all day long. It's time to advance the game. And I wasn't good enough at the game, I guess. And microtransactions started becoming a thing for me. And I was like, I don't do microtransactions. So I can tell you right now, if they're going to come out this early, I mean, yeah, the game releases this month, but if they're going to come out and say, hey, it's got microtransactions, I'm going to say it was probably expected, and I won't be participating in it.
Yeah, I mean, if it's something, if it is how they describe it as being, hey, this is made for the people who don't have time to explore the full world, this is for those people to get those items and gear and powerful things that help you through the rest of the game. Okay, that's fine. I don't have an issue with it. Just don't tell me that, and then let me see someone else playing it and see that they have this like super unique OP item that you can't find anywhere in the game that's behind a paywall.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not fair to the children.
Think about the children.
Think about the children.
The more you know.
Well, don't think about it that intensely, though. That's gross. No.
Thriller.
Oh.
I literally felt my stomach drop out on that downhill decline.
Oh. Is Dano back yet?
Nope.
Dang it.
Restarting his PC.
All right. Well, is that all you guys have got on Assassin's Creed?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on then, I guess, huh? let's talk about Volkswagen. Big news from Volkswagen over the last week and a half. They've been referring to it and their 2-liter diesel, the TDI clean diesel, as Dieselgate. Mainly because the engine has specific parameter programming that allows it to detect when it is being put on a chassis dynamometer and tested for emissions regulations. And the second the EPA says, hey, it's good to go, you get it out on the road and find out it's polluting 40 times over maximum US EPA standards. When did it all happen? Well, it started in around 2010, some 2011 model years. It was a big time for diesel engines, all diesel engines in the US. There were multiple levels of emissions rating on them, but in 2010 was when they started getting extremely restrictive to the point where you had to go to what they refer to as common rail injection. The old school fuel injection systems on diesels wouldn't work, and now you've got this galley in an engine that increases the injection pressure into the cylinders so that you can get diesel fuel hot enough that it burns without creating a product of combustion called nitrogen oxide, or NOx for short. And NOx tears into the ozone. It's bad. It's a bad gas. I'm not going to lie. All engines make NOx. But diesels tend to make more NOx than gasoline engines. They always have. But by going to common rail, you lowered the NOx emissions. And then you could put a particulate filter in the exhaust that would get all that black exhaust smoke and filter that. But in 2010, NOx emissions became even tighter, and everybody either needed to go with a EGR-based, exhaust gas recirculation-based air intake system, or you needed to have a passive selective catalytic reduction system put on your car, which basically uses a special solution called urea, which is basically it's a lab-made ammonia mixed with deionized water that bonds with NOx in what's called the SCR catalyst of a car, of a diesel car or semi-truck. Semi-trucks do have them as well. And bonds that NOx gas and splits it. Because ammonia, something chemistry, Dano knows all about it. I actually talked with him about it outside of this meeting. But you end up, instead of emitting nitrogen and oxygen as one molecule, it splits it into straight nitrogen, which is harmless to the environment. 70% of our atmosphere is made of nitrogen, carbon dioxide, and water. But, yeah. In 2010, for the 2011 model year, Volkswagen wanted to keep their fuel mileage. The TDIs have always been high in fuel mileage. Wouldn't you guys agree? Okay, or you could stay quiet.
I've never driven a diesel vehicle.
Okay. All right. Well,
Thanks for asking.
not a problem. Diesel vehicles, diesel cars have got a bad reputation. They pretty much always have. People have said diesels don't accelerate as fast as gasoline-powered cars, or diesel-powered vehicles pollute more, or diesel-powered cars get worse fuel mileage. And some of it's true, some of it's not quite as true, and some of it's just outright wrong. Diesel-powered cars do tend to accelerate a little bit slower, or at least they used to, mainly because a diesel engine needs to be turbocharged to be of any use, really, on the road. And with any turbocharged car, you're going to have what's called turbocharger lag. So until you get a certain amount of load on that turbocharger and it starts producing positive pressure in the intake system, it's going to be a dog. Diesel engines pollute more People used to see that black smoke that comes out of trucks. Linz, I'm sure you've seen pictures. You live in Texas. Crimson, you live down in Georgia. I know you guys have.
I live in Texas. I still see the black smoke.
Yeah. Yeah, the coal rollers.
Mm-hmm.
That black smoke is not pollution. That black smoke is unburnt diesel fuel going through an engine and coming out the exhaust pipe. If you were to walk up to that with a propane torch, you could actually light that on fire. So, is it pollution? Yeah. Is it going right up into the atmosphere? Somewhat. It's what they call a long chain hydrocarbon.
Okay, so tell us what they did.
What did Volkswagen do?
Yes.
Well, in 2007, everybody was required to get rid of that black smoke. So you put a ceramic filter in the exhaust, called a diesel particulate filter. Volkswagen put theirs in, just like they were supposed to. And the EPA said, okay guys, everybody got rid of the black smoke. Everybody's good. Right up until 2010, they said, we need you to start being ready for these 2010 emissions. 2010, we're going to focus on NOx. Volkswagen said, well, everybody else's NOx emissions are going to cut the fuel mileage in the cars in like half. And the EPA said, yeah, so? Volkswagen didn't want to do that. They've always gotten great fuel mileage with TDIs. But to get rid of NOx, in 2010, everyone had to put on either an SCR catalyst or run a massive amount of exhaust gas recirculation, which is basically you take output gas from the engine, output exhaust, and feed it right back through the intake and burn it again. It tends to be detrimental to an engine when you do that. Your cylinder combustion pressures go way up, and the engine tends to explode more often than not when you run that much exhaust gas recirculation. So you kind of had a highway split in the way of diesel engine manufacture. You had two groups for the most part, Volkswagen and Navistar, which is international, and it used to be Power Stroke Fords that would run this huge amount of exhaust gas recirculation, and everybody had to put this diesel particulate filter on. So when you run EGR back through the engine, it makes more black smoke, but it lowers your NOx emissions by like 90%, which is still pretty high, but it's 90% gone. And then you catch all that black smoke in this filter, and you just output clear NOx emissions. Volkswagen put the filter on their car and decided to do nothing else for the most part, except when the car was put into testing conditions. So what did Volkswagen do? They didn't do anything. When the car is in testing conditions, it's put on a chassis dyno. In other words, it's like a treadmill for a car. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Volkswagen 2-liter TDI cars, 2-liter diesel cars, are all, for the most part, front-wheel drive. I mean, some people have modified them to be all-wheel drive and things like that. Those would never pass emissions anyway. But the front-wheel drive ones, you put the front wheels of the car, the ones that actually drive, on a rolling drum, the treadmill for a car, and you strap down the back wheels. And then you put a gas analyzer in front of the exhaust and run the car. Simulate highway conditions. Drive the car at speed while it's going nowhere, and you read the amount of gas it's putting out the exhaust. Volkswagen put parameter programming in their engines that could detect when the rear wheels were locked but the front wheels were turning, and said, we need to be emissions. We're going to put it into an emissions cheat mode. And they increased their cylinder pressures to get rid of NOx emissions by putting in more fuel and It's playing with the injection timing, which is kind of like spark timing on a car. It's just at what point in the cylinder's compression stroke the engine actually produces a downstroke. In a car, it's when the spark plug fires. In a diesel engine, it's when the fuel injector starts to put fuel in. So you can control all that with a computer now, especially now that injectors on diesel engines are computer controlled. Volkswagen basically just made a cheat mode, and now they got caught. Boy, I'm having a hard time with this.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So they put what is supposed to be this EPA compliant system in.
Mm-hmm.
They tell consumers we have a clean diesel engine, and by the way, you will not sacrifice any performance.
Exactly.
With this.
Exactly. They said all this, and it was an outright lie.
And then they configure their systems to where when the car recognizes it's being tested, it says, "I'm doing fine, guys. I don't know. There's no problem here.
Exactly.
I'm completely clean. I don't know why everybody else can't figure out how to do this. I'm a diesel engine that's clean and also high performance."
High performance, great fuel mileage. You're talking 40 miles to a gallon.
Fantastic. And they let that ride.
Uh-huh. Volkswagen was the only people that could do it.
Yeah, because, super Volkswagen technology science.
As a diesel mechanic, I was wondering what was going on the entire time, ever since 2010. Like, TDI Volkswagens, my back in the day Volkswagens, like the Rabbit, they used to get... I had a friend with a Rabbit that got 70 miles to a gallon of diesel on the highway. 70 miles to a gallon. Mm-hmm. And then these emissions laws started coming in, and me as a semi-truck mechanic, right before the emissions were mandatory, 2004 when all this started, I was used to semi-trucks and fleets that I was working on getting 14 and 15 miles to a gallon. The second 2004 emissions hit, we were lucky to get 5 miles to a gallon. Volkswagen cars used to get 70 miles to a gallon. 2004 emissions hit, they cut down to about 40. Okay, not a problem. 2007 emissions, okay, we've got a filter on the exhaust. Everybody's getting rid of their black smoke thanks to a filter. We can start putting more fuel through, because that unburned fuel, it's going to get caught. So fuel mileage actually goes up when you can feed more fuel to a diesel engine, because you get more power that way. The trucks I was working on went from 5 to about 9.5 or 10 miles to a gallon. Cars went from other diesel cars, they went from roughly 18 to 25 miles to a gallon to 30 miles to a gallon. The TDI Volkswagen stays right at 40 miles to a gallon. 2010 hits, right when all this new emission stuff is supposed to come down. Volkswagen TDI stays right at 40 miles to a gallon average. Everybody else's falls right back down. The trucks I'm working on are now getting 4.5 miles to a gallon.
Okay, so you're the car expert.
Yeah, I was always wondering what was going on. But
when I was growing up, my grandparents had an old diesel Mercedes.
Mm-hmm. An old D180 probably, or a D250.
So, for other than Volkswagen, who else is still selling diesel consumer vehicles in the U.S.?
Chevrolet has got the Chevy Spark, or Chevy Cruze diesel. Fiat has got the 500D, which is a diesel. Mazda has got a diesel. Jeep is coming out with a diesel Grand Cherokee.
Okay.
Mercedes still has diesels. That's the thing. Volkswagen is the most popular consumer car U.S. diesel.
Right. And what is what is their fuel mileage and performance compared to what people are saying Volkswagens will be? They're saying that it could be, it could cut the power of the vehicle by 35%.
Yes. Yeah, that's the thing. These emissions, the new 2013 emissions, 2011 emissions, both cut the power output of diesels. So to make up for that, everybody increased their displacement of their engines, it seems. What you would normally see from a 1.8 liter diesel engine or a 2 liter diesel engine became a 2.5 or 3 liter diesel engine. People knew there would be a power output loss, so they increased the size of the engine itself to get, the power that was required back. Volkswagen stayed with a 2 liter displacement.
Okay,
So if I had to predict where it would be worse, if not just barely comparable to anything that exists in any other consumer diesel vehicle. Actual power-wise, though, they're going to be much slower, and they're not going to, dangerously slow. Like, getting onto the highway, trying to merge onto a highway at speed, it's not going to be there. It's going to be a bad day.
So the problem that I see is these are being recalled, right?
Yes.
And there's going to have to be a fix applied.
Yes.
And the fix is not going to be to put a larger engine in the car.
No. The fix...
It's going to be the car that you purchased, that you paid money for, is now being recalled. Mm-hmm. We're going to alter it in a way that's going to drastically reduce your performance, reduce your fuel mileage. Here you go. We're environmentally friendly now, though.
Yes. And, well, that's the, there's the rub right there. Volkswagen's got to pay the fine for cheating and producing these cars. Did I put numbers in when we wrote this? 480,000 vehicles so far. Yeah, that number's a little bit low. That's 480,000 vehicles in the U.S. They just got caught a couple of days ago for using the exact same faulty parameter programming in Europe. So yeah, Volkswagen's looking at a worldwide recall. They've already been banned from a couple of countries from selling any more diesels until they get their issues fixed with these ones. The U.S. is going to have a problem, though, when it comes to Volkswagen saying, hey guys, send in your TDIs. We need to make it slower. There is a fix that they can do that won't make it slower. However, it's going to be more expensive for the consumer. We either need to reprogram these things, so it's not going to put as much fuel through. It's going to be a lot slower, but it's not going to pollute. Or we need to install this exhaust SCR system, selective catalytic reduction system. That's the urea injector and tank and stuff. Practically everybody else does still use it, or does use it now. Those cost $5,000 to $7,000 to install. There's specialized exhaust parts full of platinum and rhodium, which are both precious metals that go into it. And you have to add urea to your car regularly. Normally it's 10,000 miles for a passenger car. From what people had been guesstimating, scientists and such, the way the TDI pollutes, if they keep the parameter programming and add the urea injection system, you're going to be filling up with urea every 7,000 miles, which is not desirable, especially seeing how the stuff is $14.95 a gallon. And a urea tank on a passenger car holds somewhere between 2 and 5 gallons. But the other rub is, in the U.S., a car manufacturer can put out a recall. It is up to the actual person that bought the car whether or not they're going to bring it back and have said recall performed.
Yeah, if I have this car and they want to take it, cut the mileage in half and all kinds of things, make it slower, I'm going to be like, no, I'm keeping my car because I like the mileage I get from it. So
Exactly. And believe it or not, the consumers are in their right to do so.
Well, unless you live in a county that requires you to have annual EPA testing with your inspection.
yes,
I'm from Houston.
Did you forget? The cars have got a built-in EPA testing defeat mode.
Well, you don't think that anybody's going to take that into account when they...
It'll pass emissions. It'll pass the emissions test. The emissions
we're
test
good.
says run it on a front-engine dynamometer with a 5-gas analyzer behind it.
You think that as a nation, we're going to ignore on our inspections that the fact that we know that it can pass an emissions test?
I don't think we're going to ignore that at all. But I'm saying right now, as standard law is written, there is a certain set of EPA testing procedure that has to be followed per vehicle, per emissions level year. If you're driving a 2012 Volkswagen Jetta with a TDI in it, current EPA testing procedure says put this gas analyzer at the tailpipe, put it on a front wheel dynamometer, and drive it at highway speed.
yeah,
The car's already programmed to beat that.
Okay.
which Atlanta happens to be one of those places where you have to pass an emissions test. So I guess you would only, if they do in the future change this to where, all right, we know we'll have to do something different, then you'll have to go take it in. But I think for most people, they're just not going to, because why would you do that voluntarily?
Yeah, if you have the option not to, I don't think people are going to. And I think that if they were forced to en masse, you might see like an outcry class action lawsuit type thing, because a lot of people's vehicles are just going to become useless. You can't drive this car in Houston, Texas with an inability to merge onto the freeway. You will die.
Yeah.
You
Good
get that.
life.
Same in Atlanta.
Same in Michigan. There were 42 accidents at the exit I get on every day. I'm telling you, I'm coming off of a very sharp curve, and I've got maybe 1,000 feet of runway to get my car from 35 miles an hour to at least 75 to get onto the highway.
Well, it looks... Go ahead.
Just a couple of questions. What do you think this is going to do for the resale value of Volkswagen TDIs?
It'll plummet. That's, yeah.
Honestly, they used to hold their value better than most consumer vehicles, especially higher mileage consumer vehicles. If you had 100,000 miles on your car that ran on gasoline, more than half the value was initially cut off of it on dealer trade-in. TDIs used to retain like 70% of their value.
Right.
Because they're a diesel, and they got great gas, or they got great fuel mileage, you know.
Okay.
Volkswagen's looking at some huge fines. This could be the end of Volkswagen.
It very well could be.
Right now, yeah, the $18 billion in EPA fines, plus whatever it's going to cost to upfit the vehicles with a fix.
Yeah. And then Europe.
And then Europe, yeah. It's...
Well, it looks like we have lost Dano.
We have lost Dano for the evening.
Poor Dano.
Which means he doesn't get to express an opinion on the interesting reason for a PG-13 rating on Batman vs. Superman.
So, everyone talk at the same time, and I'm sure this will go well.
Absolutely. So here's the thing. Okay, everybody knew it was going to be PG-13.
Yes.
You have to appeal to a wide audience. It can't be R. It's not going to be PG. So it's rated PG-13 for, like action and violence and stuff like that. And also sensuality.
Mm.
We have a sensuality rating of PG-13.
Oh my.
Yeah, so what is this for? The
I know.
speculation is Wonder Woman.
So I think it's kind of obvious. Two reasons. Wonder Woman doesn't exactly wear a lot of clothes. And most comic book fans know that Wonder Woman and Mr. Batman have a little something going on the side.
Mm-hmm.
So they're kind of in a relationship off and on again in the comics. So that will most likely play a part in the movie because it has been said that they will know each other's secret identity / gigs. So
It's gonna get a little sexy.
oh yeah.
So, just for a point of reference, Man of Steel also had a love story in it, and the film was also PG-13 for sci-fi violence, action, and destruction and language.
Okay.
Missing from that list is sensuality. So, yeah. We might see, like a little PG-13 hanky-panky. I don't know.
Man of Steel was a better love story than Twilight. Just going to throw that out. And there wasn't one. But another point of reference is the Batman movie with Bruce. There was a bit of a the Batman movie with Bane. I should say there was a little bit of a love scene there in a PG-13 way. So probably gonna be something similar. I can't really see these two people maybe hooking up on screen in that kind of way, but I'm sure that they'll,
when we get to the theater, there's probably going to be a shot of like ankles and a pair of panties that drop to the floor or something like that, and boom,
an exposed
PG-13
shoulder.
for sensuality.
Yeah, one shoulder.
Yeah, that one bare shoulder in the press photo.
They know what it takes to get me to get into the movie theater. I'm gonna go see that shoulder.
I just want to see people punch each other.
I just want to see something funny.
We'll see.
You ready
the
for
movie
like a? Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the movie comes out March of next year. Not soon enough.
Nice.
So just throw that little tidbit out there for the audience to see.
So, I just want to see a comedy.
I want to see violence.
I want to see violence and everything else too. But I want to take the time to define what comedy is.
Oh snap!
Yeah, let's get philosophical for a moment. Are there limits in comedy?
Of course.
Eddie says, of course.
Or was that rhetorical? Yes, of course there's limits in comedy. I mean...
Yes, there should be limits.
Have you ever... Yeah, of course there's limits in comedy.
What do you think that those limits are?
It depends on the audience.
Yeah, yes, by far. But some obvious no-nos is when comedy threatens somebody physically, or tears someone down. Not, it's okay. Can't believe I'm saying this. It's okay to tear people down in comedy, but there's a point where it's wrong.
Are you saying there's a difference between insult comedy and degrading comedy?
Well, I mean, Saturday Night Live, they do both. But there's an extreme to where you are psychologically leaving someone in a bad state. That's when you're going too far with comedy.
So this week and last week, actually, I shared a few videos with you guys, and I don't know if anybody had time to watch them. I know Dano did. The one person who's not here.
What do you think about that, Dano? Oh, that's right.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you think,
So-
Bill Clinton?
So, has anybody else watched this?
Nicole Arbour's video?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I saw it the day
Okay.
it came out. I'm still
Yes.
subscribed to her on YouTube.
Okay. So, what happened is came out with a video. Nicole Arbour, by the way, for those of you that don't know, she is a YouTuber that makes very satirical comedic videos. And I'm using kind of like how I think she would define her channel. Satirical comedy.
Yes.
She came out with a video called Dear Fat People. And this channel that was not exactly massive, this video went insanely viral. 6 million views and counting. The dislikes to like ratio was crazy disproportionate.
Was it Jimmy
The
Kimmel
internet-
level?
It was Jimmy Kimmel level disproportionate. The internet hated this video. You guys have seen it, but you know, she says some things about fat people. Fat shaming is not a thing. It's something that fat people made up. It's like a race card with no race. She tells a story about a fat family in an airport. She says they smelled like sausages. You know, like there are some words of wisdom planted inside of this satirical comedy where she's also saying, please take care of yourself because I want you to be around for a long time. I'm selfish. I want to enjoy you on this earth for a very long time, and you know, and things like that. But she also uses all of these offensive stories to make her point as well. So the question became, is this actually comedy? Or did she just make a video of herself being insanely offensive?
Honestly, it depends on who you are and what your personal taste is. I mean, comedy wears a Janus mask. You've got dark comedies, tragic comedies. You've got funny comedies. What did she say that? I don't see it as a comedy personally. I'm not tuned that way.
I think the video for me wasn't so much funny as in, I mean, it was more informational than funny because it wasn't funny. There's a point where
There's a
it's the delivery. It's the delivery of how you say things, how you do things that means it's funny or it's something very serious and taken badly. Saturday Night Live could have done this, could have done the fat shaming, but it's the delivery that's different. They wouldn't have stepped over certain boundaries.
Right.
Right. Sorry, go ahead.
I will say that I was not offended by this video. And it was kind of surprising because I thought that I would be. When I saw this start coming out in headlines, I was not formerly subscribed to her. So I had to watch this after the news broke that she had made this video. And I watched it and I was like, okay, I can see how people would find this offensive. But I don't. And I didn't necessarily find it hysterical. There might have been a point where I laughed or chuckled, but I wasn't offended by it.
I'm right there with you, Linz. you know, I saw it not as a comedy. There were points in it I agreed with. There were points in it I disagreed with. But my overall take on it was that is one person's opinion on multiple subjects in the same category.
And this is just what she does is talk
Right.
about controversial things and gives her opinion. And, you know, most things she talks about, I don't agree with. However, I take it at face value and I say, all right, whatever, move
Right.
on with it. Because there's things that talks about that I am adamantly bothered by, but I just, turn the other
Right.
cheek. So, poor say.
Right. So after this video, there were a number of things that happened that were interesting. The first of which is that she got invited to The View.
Shouldn't have done that.
She should have said no, for a chance to, kind of like give her side of the story. And one of the first things that happened is she was basically attacked when she came out. The greeting was kind of like, "Hey, this is Nicole Arbour, who made this video. Dear fat people, what were you thinking? Why would you do something like that?"
Yeah, you don't get invited to The View and accept it after you make a video like she did. She should have known better.
The
You're not
View,
gonna get a fair interview.
Yeah.
the View is not an interview. It's
Mhm.
it's you either agree with us on everything, or we're just going to tear you limb from limb because that's what we get our ratings off of. So it's not an
Right.
interview. It's ridiculous.
Exactly. Linz, you work in the medical profession. I mean,
Mhm.
you work in a hospital.
Mhm.
What do your nurses think about The View right now?
The stethoscope joke is traveling around. Yeah.
You know, I mean, nobody gets a fair shake from The View, in my opinion.
Mhm.
I used to work second shift, so I still work second shift, but I'm not up early enough anymore to watch The View. I used to catch The View pretty much every morning or every day before work. My
Right.
God, those people are two-faced. I mean, they're
So, I obviously something that she probably should have said no to. It was extremely, extremely biased.
Mhm.
Um, I have tried to come into this extremely unbiased. So, I actually went back in always like the last story that I cough in. I actually went back in the history of her channel and I saw something really, really interesting. And I shared it with you guys, so you guys probably know what I'm about to talk about. One of the things that she talks about in this Dear Fat People video is how she stood in line at the airport for this extended amount of time, and then a large family got to cut in front of her in line because their knees hurt.
Mhm.
And then she goes into, why are we giving fat people disabled parking spaces and things like that. She lists all these things. If you go back in the history of her channel, you can see a story, probably one of the only semi-serious videos that she has, where she tells this story about herself. She was getting out of a cab. It was halfway in, halfway out of the cab, and that cab was rear-ended by another vehicle. And she broke multiple bones and, basically had injuries from head to toe. And I mean, she got this prognosis of, you're lucky that you're alive. You're certainly never going to walk again, not normally, definitely. And by the way, you are disabled.
Right.
And to this day, she is still, quote unquote, disabled. It's just a diagnosis that she's chosen not to accept. She gets all kinds of therapy. She goes and gets nerve block injections on a regular basis so that she can continue to move in a normal way and live in a normal life and not have to fit into that disabled box. So that kind of gives her viewpoint a completely different perspective, coming from, hey, I am a disabled person I, got hit by a car and broke everything, and I don't have a parking pass. I don't skip the line in the airport. I am not choosing to exacerbate the situation that I'm in. I'm choosing to improve the situation that I'm in.
Right.
Just shed some light on how, she probably likely came to some of her very strong, granted, opinions on the subject. She did get a response from a very recognizable YouTuber, Boogie2988.
Yes.
The guy who does Francis. That's how I know him. The guy who does Francis had the opposite reaction of us. He was highly offended, extremely hurt by the video. So, I mean, it's definitely, every person's going to have their own opinion. What amazes me is that once it gets this viral momentum, like the Jimmy Kimmel situation, the response is overwhelming.
Right. That's because it's viral. It's spreading rapidly, faster than anyone can contain it.
Right.
And the problem is just quickly, is people say, oh, she, talked really bad, tore down fat people, and it's always spun in a negative light. But if you take the time to research, well, actually watch the video, research a little bit about it, you come to a different conclusion, which you may come to the same conclusion in this case, but, you're not dealt with The View as being your information source.
Right.
So.
Right. And I think that's probably a lot of where this response is coming from. I don't know that everyone is making it through the video.
Yeah, they probably are there just long enough to get their comment to stick.
Right. The first two lines are, "Dear fat people." Oh, some people are already offended. That's probably where the dislikes happen, right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I do agree with the Boogie guy. I actually watched this video about, and personally, I think, there's a point where making jokes about fat people, there's, it's comedy. But there's a point where fat shaming, he mentioned that a lot of obese people, let's put it that way, are dealing with personal issues that kind of tie in, psychological issues that they've dealt with that kind of tie into the eating, and tearing someone down further makes them feel worse about themselves, and you're not going to fix that about yourself if you just feel worse about yourself. You've got to feel good about yourself to change how you look. So I understand his side of the story, because this is an extreme case. If this wasn't as extreme as it is, I wouldn't agree with him. But
yeah, and that's why I said, like, she stuck it in there at the end as if it were supposed to be like a public service announcement or something. However, you will never be able to hide behind that, because if she were talking face to face that way to someone who needed help with an eating disorder, it would have been extremely destructive. As a video on YouTube, I was not offended, but he knew her personally, so his reaction was very personal.
Right.
It was, that what you have said is extremely destructive to me as a person.
yes.
Indeed.
Interesting.
Indeed.
The things that people think are comedy, and how we define comedy, and how the internet reacts when you piss it off.
You tell a dead baby joke just once. Whew.
Depends on who.
It depends on the audience. Exactly.
It depends on the audience. Again, it depends on the audience. It depends on the media, the medium. And
it depends on the person speaking as well. She made the point on The View that she wished she was a dude.
Right.
Because a lot of the things that she says about women, about fat people, about whatever her topics might be, could easily be said by a male comedian and be funny.
Right.
But it can't be said by her because she's very pretty. She's a pretty thin blonde woman.
She refers to herself as side chick Barbie. I mean, yes, she's a very skinny, blonde, tall woman.
Yeah. So, but it's kind of like one of our, as a society here in America, I don't know if it is worldwide or not, but it's one of the unspoken rules of comedy. You know, I mean, it's like if you're this race, you can talk about this race,
Exactly.
but not that race. But if you're that race, you can talk about everybody's race. If you're fat, you can make fun of fat people. You can also make fun of skinny people, but if you're skinny, you cannot make fun of fat people. Like, it's just these rules that we've assigned.
If you're skinny and white, you cannot talk about anyone or attempt to make fun of anyone. Yeah, if Gabriel Iglesias, you know who he is?
Yeah, Fluffy.
If he would have done the Dear Fat People video, nobody would have batted an eye. Right. He's not fat, he's fluffy.
Right.
Right. You know, another thing I just kind of want to interject because I forgot the point. I remembered it. The problem, there's a problem that we're way too sensitive, but yet we have to accommodate everyone.
I'm sure this year's going down in history as the year everyone is offended.
2015. Offended by everything. Accommodate everyone. No, what?
Offended by everything.
But really, this is a topic that, you know, it needs to be talked about. And, you know, if it's, you know, made jokes about, you know, there's a point where we need to talk about it. It needs to be discussed. And other things like other topics, not to get off topic, but things need to be discussed without people, you know, automatically being torn down because they wanted to talk about it. But this is the extreme case where you've got to be somewhat sensitive. So you've got to shoot for the middle. And the problem is, if you don't accommodate everyone, then automatically you're hated by everyone. But it needs to happen. It has to happen.
Right.
So I guess in her way, someone had to stand up, but I think she
might have pushed the gas pedal a little too hard on it.
Her way of putting it out there.
Her delivery was a little bit wrong.
Yeah. And that would be, you know, if I were going to give her advice, I would say to her, you know, if you really wanted to make a difference, I would have toned that down. Yes. You could still be funny, just tone it down a little. Don't say that the fat people smelled like sausages, maybe just leave that, maybe just cut that in editing, you know, or something, because she makes some really powerful statements. Like, you got one body, it has to take you all the way to the end. That's a really powerful statement, completely overshadowed by the other things that she says.
Exactly. Her delivery was a little bit off its point.
Yeah.
If I were to give a recommendation, is have, you know, when you finish making your video, have someone review it and just, you know, give some honest feedback.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
you know, if Richard Simmons would have done that video, is he still even alive?
Unfortunately, I think so.
Oh, man. You know what, never mind. I'm not even going to go there with what would have happened if Richard Simmons would have done that video.
So, do we want to cover this part right here? Concept of manners, is it dead?
I don't think the concept of manners is dead at all.
I kind of do. I don't think it's dead. I think that
I think it's lost.
I think that people are forgetting the concept of manners. There is this idea in our society that I am who I am.
Confidence is king.
And I'm proud of who I am, and everyone else has to work around who I am.
Yep.
Accommodating someone is not being respectful, not being polite, and not being mannerful. It's...
Right.
Right.
But, you know, confidence is king. And if you're confident in your delivery, it doesn't matter if it's brash, if it's caring.
Right.
Somewhere along the line, we got very lost. And we have lost all consideration for others, it seems. Like, before, what do we refer to it as? The brain-mouth buffer? It's almost like it doesn't exist anymore. And people, I mean, I'm not going to name names, but we have one person right now who's vying for a spot in the White House next year. Love him, hate him, you know. I would say he doesn't have that brain mouth buffer either.
Yeah. It's that friend that when they apologize to you, they apologize like, "I'm sorry if you were offended."
Yeah. Yeah.
Or, you know, "Oh, I'm sorry, but
I'm sorry, you idiot.
I'm sorry, but this is just the way that I feel." And, you know, it is like it's slamming the door shut and saying, "I do not care what anybody around me thinks, feels, reacts to. Like, this is just what you have to deal with. Take it or leave it."
Right. Well, I would prefer that, you know, they leave it. And I've got somebody in my life I just recently said goodbye to after a "I'm not racist but" statement. I was like, no, nothing ever good.
No.
Nothing good ever comes after "I'm not a racist but." I was like, you are gone. Get out of my life. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
the concept of manners isn't dead. It's just lost. People know what they're doing. They just don't care, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
Because they feel strongly about it, apparently. Who knows? They're assertive.
It's another, I think it's just another form of the word that, you know, like the evening news has kind of ruined this word for everybody, but it's a form of entitlement.
Yeah.
In that I am entitled to get to say whatever I want to say and act however I want to act, and everyone should just accept me and love me.
The internet culture where you hide behind a computer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for being the jerk that I am.
And then you've got to have your SJWs that stand up for you or stand up against you.
Why? Which, you know, manners, my personal feelings, for the most part, in the internet culture, yeah, they're dead.
Yeah.
But in real life, it depends honestly where you live, honestly, and what kind of manners. Like in Europe, they're big on certain things. Like in some countries, respecting your parents is huge. Especially in like Asia.
Yeah.
Here in the US, I can say from experience from traveling all over this country, the North, the West, and the Deep South are completely different when it comes to manners.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
We still hold doors open for girls and say,
Yes.
"Yes, ma'am," "No, sir."
Yes. In the South, you absolutely do. I to this day, like, it's 2015. I don't go to a store or anything where if there is a man in front of me, he's not holding the door open when I get there. And it's like, it's a completely unnecessary gesture, but we still do that. And the women do too, actually. I mean, like, if there's anybody right in front of you in the South, we're going to hold the door open for the next person.
And then 65 of their friends are going to come through after him, and he's still holding the door. That's why we stopped doing it up here.
And
We
you
will
smile.
sit there and hold the door open and smile.
Oh, not me. I got stuff to do. That's why we stopped doing that up here. It's like, yeah, I'll let you in behind me. You know, we'll hold the door for one person behind us. After that, we're pulling that thing shut.
Eddie's making our point for us.
Exactly. I was going
I
to
got-
talk about the North, but
I got to be on my way, you know? It's not lack of manners. It's I don't have time to cater to everyone at once. I mean,
that doesn't happen in the South. You don't actually get stuck because by
somebody
the
else
second-
goes, "Here, let me take the door for you."
Yes,
They
by
don't
the
do that up
second or
here.
third person, somebody else will take the door duty and hold it open for the next couple of people.
for all the
That does not happen up here.
for the guy viewers, gentlemen, hold the doors open for the girls, and when they walk through, give them a little wink. Works. I can say from experience.
That's right. Pull her
I
chair out
moved.
for her at dinner. Gives you a
I moved up to Athens, and a particular place where I live or did things that they didn't do it. The guys didn't do it, and I thought it was the weirdest thing. So I did it for all the girls, and all the women loved me.
Oh wow!
They're like, "Oh." So
Yeah.
just a little tip for you gentlemen watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, when I was younger, I always felt like stuff like that was so unnecessary, and I didn't care about it at all until I actually met someone who was a considerate person, and it is a world of difference.
Mm. Make sure when you take a nice lady out to dinner, you pull her chair out for her. After you open the door to the restaurant, you pull her chair out for her, and help her get seated at the table too. It gives you longer to stare at the booty, uninterrupted.
He has been waiting to say that.
I have. I've been sitting here twiddling my thumbs and counting the seconds.
You know, this is a perfect time to call this closed.
So this has been fun. The stream has been fun, but we've talked about everything from politics to fat shaming to topics that we typically try to avoid. But it happened, and we lost Dano, the late Dano.
He shall be missed until next week when hopefully his computer's fixed.
Yes.
It's Windows 10, by the way. He let me know.
Oh, Lord. But
I hear good things about Windows 10.
Quick little shout out. Next week, the next Saturday, the Votable UHC will be going on. You can catch that over at twitch.votable.com. Go Votable or whatnot. There'll be a link in the description.
Twitch.tv/govotable.
Yes, that thing. They are doing a UHC live stream. It's the biggest Minecraft UHC that's ever been done. Each time it gets bigger and bigger. There'll be several different time slots, so it'll be to accommodate Pacific time to Australian, so it's going to be a long event. Also, you can watch it before our stream and then after our stream, but during that time, you best be here watching us, or else.
Did you tell them that we'll be competing in it, Crimson?
Yes. So myself and Mr. Unwise will be a part of the Bottle Rocket Gaming. So if you decide to watch and you see us, donate money to our team, because that money is going to a charity. That charity is going to go to the Syrian refugees stranded in Europe. This is a 4-star rating from a charity navigator. So, charity, money, help out a good cause.
Tell your friends, be there.
The charity is International Relief Team.
Mm-hmm.
International Relief Teams. So, yeah, look them up. We have supported a number of charities through the Votable UHC. Raised a nice amount of money for very worthy causes.
Come root for us. Come raise some money.
And the chat is always just amazingly fun. There's so much support and so much love in that chat. So yeah, it is a very, very fun time.
And let's make some money for a great cause.
But if you would like more information, obviously you can just get in touch with me since I am somewhat involved. But this is the end of the stream. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and all those lovely things. We do love you, lovely people. And if you would like to join us and be a host or a part-time host for MinusTheRumors, you can send us an email at MinusTheRumors@gmail.com. Saying you're interested or not interested. Obviously, we're looking for someone who's out of high school, who's 18 or older, and then such things as that. But
face cam, microphone, standard podcast stuff.
So as always, thanks for watching, guys. Everyone say bye now.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.